All right, so Ian, news out of
Hyperkin
E3.
land.
Hyperkin always showing up at E3. They always got a showing.
They announced this. This was either leaked or announced right before E3. So Hyperkin is putting out their Nintendo 64 clone called the Ultra
Retron Ult.
Retron Ult.
I guess short for the Ultra 64, which is the original.
Yeah,
N64
the original
name.
development name. So it'll be the big thing here is HDMI out, 720p upscale.
720p HDMI out.
N64 was never a particularly great looking system, but it looks like utter fucking dog trash on like a flat screen TV. It's
you are
miserable
meant
looking.
to look at N64 games through a filter. You
Yes.
literally are. Nintendo put on filters so you couldn't see the jagged edges and things of that nature on N64 games.
So it's rough on a flat.
Be careful what you wish for. We're
with-
upscaling N64 games.
Well, that's no. What I'm saying is, I mean, it's not going to look great, but it's going to help. I'm saying like a raw RCA signal into a flat screen TV, which is how people are doing it now.
But you don't want
miserable.
But you don't want to clean up the signal too much on these. Basically, you don't want to remaster N64 games. That's what I'm trying to say, like to 1080p.
Sure.
You know.
It's going to be a HDMI. It's going to be USB power. Comes with one controller.
The Admiral controller.
The Admiral controller. And
4 ports, just like an N64.
it appears to be using some sort of emulation. It has to be there.
Well, it has to, or else they wouldn't be able to have this at this point.
FPGA on the N64, from what I understand, is not a thing we are going to see anytime soon. And this is using some sort of emulation. There were pictures that came out of E3 of Mario Kart, the TV screen on one of the levels. Came through glitchy, like it wasn't there. It was all screwed up. And I guess that's a known bug in one of the big emulators. So I don't know.
I was going to say.
So it's good. I mean, emulation on the 64 has come a long way. This is not going to be perfect, and I am shuddering at the thought of trying to explain or sell this to people.
Because it's not going to be 100% compatible.
Yeah, I'll really have to see how close it gets. But if it's one of those things where like popular games have graphic problems and glitches, it's going to be real hard for me to sell this, especially when regular Nintendo 64s, they're very popular now, but they're not as scarce as, say, I don't know. It seems like a weird release. I think it's jumping the gun. That's the problem.
You think they should have? Well, here's the thing: if you own Hyperkin at this point, you already came out with every other cart-based system you possibly could with an audience. You did Atari, you did Nintendo, you did Super Nintendo, you did Genesis / Master System with, you did your Retron 5, you did everything, Ian. This is it. This is the last cartridge system that people are going to care about. This is it. So you got to come out with it sometime, or else your competitors will.
Oh, sure,
they will. And people do need an HDMI solution for almost every console. And you can buy upscaling cables, or you can buy something like this, but if the cables cost almost as much as this is going to cost, you might as well get the console. That's probably people were probably thinking.
Right, which would make perfect sense if you were fine with
some potential glitches. So this is what I'm going to say. They're obviously going to have to license one of the 2 or 3 decent N64 emulators. I haven't kept up with. Why would I keep up with N64 emulation? All I know is this: you go from it being something that they've said definitively, but in the past, this is impossible to emulate. Someone releases what was the emulator that came out in the middle of the night in the early 2000s, late 90s?
Oh yeah, I can't remember.
Ultra HLE, whatever? And then we're like, holy shit, this is possible. And so that's why they're still trying to catch up and be able to do this properly. If you do an FPGA, obviously that'd be great, but it could take someone like Kesher's years to do that, to program it and figure it out.
Yeah.
And they can't wait, so it's going to have to be an emulator. The fact that they were saying we're not sure what it's going to be, no, it's going to be an emulator. It's going to probably rip the ROM off the cartridge the same way the Retron 5 does. You have to if it's an emulator.
Yeah.
So it'll be cracked. It'll be like an N64 emulator box. These are just emulator boxes at this point, which is good though, because you don't have to worry about the Rumble, the expansion pack support. You don't have to worry about it. It'll be built in.
There's a little door. It shows a little door for it.
It shows a door for it,
or maybe it's just maybe that's just a.
I think that's just a door, Ian. I don't think you're gonna have to.
No, I would hope not. But I'm saying it literally shows the door for the expansion pack.
Because I don't think they stopped making those expansion packs, right?
Including Hyperkin, as far as I know, they don't make them.
No, this is going to be built into the emulator. They're not going to have.
I'm just saying it shows a door on there. I'm sure it could just be a decorative element, but it's there.
Yes, that's the reset button. They made the reset button there. That's what it is. That would be bad. We're gonna sell you a clone and then the expansion pack as well on top of it.
This looks like trash.
To me, what looks like trash?
I'm sure it's just a prototype. Yeah, it's got to be a prototype model.
So to me, this all comes down to what's the price on this. If this is $60 or less, you're gonna sell a ton. If it's $80, $100, you're not. Especially if it's potentially be glitchy. If it's $60, you know what? I'll take a chance that some games don't play properly. Even though they're gonna have to disclose that, and they're gonna have to be able to do firmware updates, obviously, like with the Retron, where once they figure out the glitches of other games and work at it, you can update it.
I think we're looking at 70. The Retron 77 is partial emulation, and that came out at 70.
Okay.
So I mean, just using roughly it didn't stay at 70.
But that had switches. I still got to buy one, by the way. I want one.
I do want a Retron 77, actually. It's one of the only clone systems I've wanted.
It has the glitch button on it. You make glitchy.
It's small. Yeah, it's got the fry button. Anyway.
Okay, so you're kind of surprised that they announced this early. Maybe wait a year or two. Is there a release date planned for this that we see or no?
I don't believe so, but I would imagine very soon.
Very soon.
I would imagine we'll be
by the end of the year.
Yeah, we'll see it by the end of the year. Absolutely.
No N64 Classic yet. That's still not out. You know why? Because the emulation isn't perfect. Nintendo ain't going to do it themselves. They're going to wait for someone else to perfect it and do it. All right. So, like I said, $60 to $80 we're thinking for this. Okay.
Yeah.